A single cart creaks forward over damp earth, its wooden wheels grinding softly. The guards above barely glance down. It looks ordinary, routine. But the moment that cart crosses the threshold, it enters one of the most dangerous spaces in the medieval world, because castles were never built to look threatening. They were built to trap you after you felt safe. From the outside, a castle gate appears simple: a heavy wooden door, iron bands, maybe a pair of towers. But that simplicity is a lie. The gatehouse was one of the most sophisticated defensive structures in medieval architecture, and it worked by turning movement into vulnerability. As attackers pushed forward, they entered a narrow passage, stone walls on both sides, no room to spread out. Then came the first layer, the portcullis, a heavy wooden grille reinforced with iron, designed to drop quickly using gravity and counterweights. But here's the problem. Not every castle had multiple portcullises, but many major fortifications did. And when they did, the effect was devastating. Because once one slammed shut, defenders could isolate groups of attackers inside the passage. This space is often described as a killing zone, but not all castles had true vertical murder holes. Some had them. Others relied more on side openings, arrow loops, or upper galleries. And this is where accuracy matters. Boiling oil, often imagined in films, was actually rare, too expensive. More commonly, defenders used stones, heated sand, quicklime, or water. The design wasn't chaos. It was controlled, methodical defense built into architecture. And what makes this fascinating is that the most dangerous place in a castle wasn't deep inside. It was right at the entrance. At first glance, a moat seems obvious. A ditch sometimes filled with water. But not all moats were wet. In fact, many were dry ditches, especially in regions where maintaining water levels was impractical. So why build them? Because the real purpose wasn't just to block movement. It was to slow, expose, and exhaust attackers. Crossing a moat, wet or dry, meant descending into a vulnerable low point, then climbing upward under fire. Water-filled moats could be muddy, cold, and difficult to cross in armor. But they were not typically poisoned or filled with waste as a standard practice. Though stagnant water could naturally become foul. And this is where things changed. The moat forced attackers into a predictable path, a narrow approach, limited options, which meant defenders always knew exactly where to aim. The moat didn't just delay the enemy, it organized them into targets. From a distance, a castle wall looks like a final barrier. But the most advanced castles were designed with something more sophisticated: layers. This system, known as concentric defense, became especially prominent in the 12th and 13th centuries, influenced by fortifications encountered during the Crusades. Instead of relying on one wall, castles used multiple rings. The outer wall was often lower and thinner, easier to attack. That wasn't a flaw. It was intentional. Because once breached, attackers entered a confined space between walls, often called the killing ground or bailey, exposed to fire from higher inner walls. And the inner wall? Higher, stronger, more defensible. Castles like Crac des Chevaliers in modern-day Syria demonstrate this system clearly. Archaeological studies show how overlapping fields of fire made coordinated assault extremely difficult. The design assumed something radical: that walls would fall, and that victory would come from what happened after. It's easy to imagine medieval battles as chaotic, but castle defense often depended on something precise. Control, arrow slits or loopholes, were narrow vertical openings in walls. From the outside, they looked like thin cracks, but inside, they widened significantly. This allowed archers, and later crossbowmen, to adjust their angle while remaining protected. However, one correction matters. Arrow slits did not make defenders invisible or invulnerable. Skilled attackers could still fire into them at certain angles, and they were not always designed for wide horizontal tracking unless they had a cross-shaped design. But their real advantage was efficiency. They reduced exposure while allowing defenders to maintain pressure over time. And here's the deeper truth. Castle defenders didn't fire randomly. They aimed at engineers building siege towers, soldiers placing ladders, or individuals coordinating movement. Because breaking organization was often more effective than causing mass casualties. And in siege warfare, disruption spreads faster than force. The base of a wall is its most vulnerable point. It's where ladders are placed, where mining begins, where pressure builds, and early castles struggled to defend it. That's why machicolations were developed. These were stone projections at the top of walls with openings in the floor, allowing defenders to attack directly downward. But here's an important nuance. Not all castles had machicolations. Earlier castles often used wooden hoardings, temporary structures built out from the walls. Machicolations are essentially their stone successors, more durable and permanent. From these openings, defenders could drop stones or other materials onto attackers below. Boiling liquids were possible. But again, usually water or sand, not oil. What makes this fascinating is the simplicity. No complex mechanism, just elevation and gravity. And for attackers pressed against the wall, shields became nearly useless. At the center of many castles stood the keep, massive, towering, dominant. It's often described as the last line of defense, and that's partly true. But historically, its role was broader. The keep was also a residence, a symbol of authority, and a fallback stronghold. Its walls were thick, its entrances elevated. Access was deliberately restricted. But not all sieges ended with defenders retreating into the keep. In many cases, if the outer defenses fell, surrender was negotiated before reaching that stage. Because once inside the keep, defenders were isolated, supplies mattered, water mattered, and survival became uncertain. So the keep functioned as both protection and deterrent. Its presence signaled endurance. That even after breaching walls, attackers faced another prolonged fight. And sometimes, that uncertainty was enough. From a distance, medieval castles appear silent, static, but they were never passive. They were systems. Every wall, every ditch, every narrow opening was designed to shape behavior, to slow movement, to control space, to force decisions. And perhaps the most important truth is this. These defenses were not built all at once. They evolved over generations through failure, adaptation, and observation. What we see today is not just architecture. It is accumulated experience. A record of what worked, what failed, and what kept people alive. Because in the end, castles were not just built to resist attack. They were built to understand it, and long before the first arrow was fired, the outcome was already being decided in stone.